My name is Emily Carter. I'm 35 years old, and I live in Seattle, Washington. 5 years ago, if you had met me, you would have seen a smiling woman with a sparkling wedding ring and a condo overlooking Lake Union. People said I was lucky, but luck can vanish. My husband betrayed me, cast me out, and thought he'd erased me. This is the story of how I turned betrayal into power. I grew up in a one-stoplight town in Ohio where my father fixed cars and my mother taught third grade. They drilled into me two things: work hard and don't let anyone take away your dignity. I left at 18 with 2 suitcases and a scholarship, promising myself I'd build a life my parents could be proud of. By 27, I was a marketing manager in Seattle, hustling long hours and soaking up the city's energy. Gray skies, ferries, coffee shops on every corner. It felt like a living postcard. I loved the independence of paying my own bills, of building something from nothing. Then I met Ryan Carter at a launch party for a health tech app. He was the charismatic founder of a fast-growing startup, the kind of man who made everyone lean in. We swapped jokes about the terrible hors d'oeuvres. He asked for my card. 2 days later, he took me to a jazz bar with a single sunflower, because roses are predictable. We hiked, cooked, dreamed. When he proposed on a windswept bluff near Cannon Beach, whispering, "We're going to conquer the world together," I said yes. Our wedding was a blend of small-town warmth and big-city sparkle. We moved into a glass-walled condo overlooking Lake Union. He worked insane hours. I scaled back to handle our home and his mounting administrative needs. He called me my rock. From the outside, we looked enviable. Instagram photos of weekend hikes, matching bikes hanging in the garage, sunset shots from our balcony. Inside, though, tiny tremors had begun. It started subtly. Ryan's phone, once left on the kitchen counter, became an extension of his hand. New passwords appeared without explanation. Investor dinners stretched later and later. I told myself startups were like babies, demanding constant attention. When he brushed off date nights, I rationalized, he's under pressure. This is temporary. Then came the small betrayals of intimacy. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped reaching for my hand on the couch. He started wearing cologne I hadn't bought. One night, he came home after midnight smelling faintly of a floral perfume I didn't own. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection looked back at me, thinner, circles under my eyes. My friend Melissa raised an eyebrow over brunch.
You lucky, eh?
You've lost weight. I laughed it off. Just stress at work. At night, I lay awake listening to the rain tapping the window. My marketing brain, the part trained to see patterns in data, was drawing a graph I didn't want to look at. A rising line of absences. A declining line of tenderness. I began jotting notes in a small leather notebook. Dates, oddities, charges on our joint account for restaurants we'd never been to together. Not to accuse him, I told myself, but to stay sane. Deep down, I knew I wouldn't burn it. One Thursday, he texted, "Working late. Don't wait up." My stomach twisted. I opened our family tracking app, a safety measure we'd once agreed on, and watched his move not toward the office, but downtown. On impulse, I grabbed my coat, hailed a cab, and told the driver to follow. We stopped outside a boutique hotel. I waited in the lobby, palms slick. The elevator dinged, and Ryan emerged holding hands with a sleek brunette in a red dress. He kissed her forehead with a tenderness he hadn't shown me in months. My vision blurred. I lifted my phone and took a photo, my hand trembling. When I confronted him at home, he sneered. "That's a client. You're imagining things." He called me jealous, insecure. His gaslighting hurt worse than the image itself. Something inside me cracked, but another part of me hardened. I would not be erased. 2 weeks later, a courier delivered divorce papers. Ryan had already moved into a loft with the other woman. Using a clause buried in our prenup, a clause his lawyer friend had slipped in, he forced the sale of our condo and froze our joint accounts. I had 48 hours to vacate. I stood in the drizzle with 2 suitcases and my old car, feeling like a ghost of myself. That night in a windowless studio apartment, I cried until my throat burned. But before I fell asleep, I opened a fresh notebook and wrote 3 words. This is temporary. I called my mother in Ohio. He threw me out. I choked. Come home. She said gently, don't let this define you. Remember who raised you. I did. Her voice steadied me. I would not crawl back. I would build forward. At first, survival was everything. I took freelance marketing gigs from Craigslist, sold jewelry on eBay, and skipped meals to pay rent. I ran at dawn along the damp waterfront, my breath visible in the cold air, trying to outrun shame. Podcasts became my lifeline. Women entrepreneurs talking about starting from nothing, about turning pain into purpose. I scribbled notes in the margins of a thrift store business book. Beneath my heartbreak lay skills I had given away for free to Ryan's dream. Branding, strategy, empathy. I've been building his empire, I thought. Maybe it's time to build mine. I stopped checking his social media. I stopped rehearsing comebacks in the shower. Every tiny act of letting go was a brick in a new foundation. While consulting for a small eco-friendly coffee roaster, I noticed how poorly big agencies treated small businesses. They craved someone who understood values as well as metrics. I sketched a plan for Carter & Co. Ethical Marketing, the name a private joke. I would reclaim my own surname. At night, I built a website on my battered laptop, designed my own logo, and sent cold emails. I'm Emily Carter, I wrote. I help mission-driven companies tell their story. Clients trickled in, a vegan bakery, a nonprofit, a sustainable fashion line. I worked 16-hour days, fueled by coffee and quiet fury. Every invoice paid felt like a victory. One evening I caught my reflection in the window, tired but fierce. You're still here, I whispered. You're still fighting. 2 years later, my firm occupied a sunlit office with a view of the Sound. I had 6 employees, all women who'd left toxic jobs, and a client list that included national brands. A business magazine ran a feature titled, The Woman Who Turned Heartbreak into an Empire. I framed it but kept it off social media. Success felt sweeter without flaunting it. At networking events, I wore tailored suits and real smiles. When people asked about my past, I said simply, it taught me resilience. I began mentoring younger women, telling them to keep their own bank accounts, their own passwords, their own dreams. Sometimes at night, I still dreamed of Ryan, but I woke up in clean sheets in a home that was mine alone. That was healing. At a charity gala I sponsored, I spotted Ryan across the room. His company had lost investors. Rumors swirled of bankruptcy. He approached, face pale. Emily, you look amazing. Maybe we could talk. I smiled politely. Ryan, you taught me the cost of underestimating someone. I hope you've learned it too. Then I turned back to my guests. It wasn't cinematic vengeance. It was quiet, devastating dignity. That was my revenge. Later that night, I stood on the balcony, city lights glittering, feeling not triumphant but free. Revenge wasn't about destroying him. It was about never letting him destroy me again. I poured my profits into a foundation for women starting over after divorce. We funded scholarships, offered free branding workshops, and lobbied for fairer housing laws. Media outlets called me a beacon for second chances. I accepted awards but always redirected attention to my foundation. This isn't just my story, I'd say. It's thousands of women's stories. I hired a lawyer to review my contracts and taught my staff how to protect themselves financially. My revenge had evolved, not a blow to Ryan, but a ladder for others. The video closes on me in my waterfront condo, morning light glinting off the water. I address the camera. I thought betrayal would destroy me. Instead, it built me. If you're watching this after heartbreak, remember, you can be more than what was done to you. Cutaways show me leading workshops, laughing with friends, signing checks for my foundation. Soft piano music underscores my words. The best revenge is to live fully, freely, and on your own terms. Fade out on me walking along the pier, head high, wind in my hair, the embodiment of survival turned success.